Hey, welcome back to part 2 of our Learning Fusion series. This is Justin. If you missed the first one, I'll put a card here to the first video. We went over getting used to Fusion and modeling and sketching, so check that out first. Today we'll go through more ways to 3D model in Fusion. If you want to follow along, boot up your Fusion now. So this is a new project. Let's go into a setting here. This might make it a little bit easier on the eyes. I typically work in this white space, but I just show you a couple options you can change to. So if you click on this little computer icon down here, go to environment, you have a few different options. A nice one, well, I don't use any of these. Infinity pool is a little, that didn't work. Didn't change anything. Tranquility blue, if you like that, that's an option. It's kind of like drawing on an old blueprint. Photo booth, not a whole lot different. That's pretty much what I work in often. It's a little hard on the eyes though. If you like a dark, if you're used to like a Mac dark mode, gray room is really nice. Dark sky is similar. Darker yet. I think we're gonna go with the gray room for now. Just a little bit easier to see sometimes. And then if you want to edit your layout grid, it is just right here. So sometimes I work with that off. It's a little easier to see what's going on right now, so I'll leave it on. There's also more settings for incremental moves and snap to grid if you like that kind of thing. You can also do a Rhino type 4 view situation. I don't prefer that in Fusion. It is nice every once in a while. You can turn off the synchronization so they're different. It's nice. Turn that back off, go back to single view. All right, let's get started. So we're gonna go over a few of the modeling, more advanced or just other options for modeling. There's a bunch of things you can do, obviously. To get started, you always start with a sketch, more or less. So we're gonna click sketch up here. And then we're gonna select our bottom plane. Let's start with a circle, center diameter circle, or C. Just anywhere is fine. We're going to do 1.25 inches. So the next thing up, let's do a rectangle. Do center rectangle. So under create, you kind of scroll over here. You get all more options. Center rectangle is an option because we want it to snap to this. And we can do this with constraints, but it's just nice. It gives us the option right away. We're snapping to the center of the circle. Let's say that's 2 by 2. Enter. So now we've got an inscribed circle inside of our square. Let's jump over into parameters. So modify, change parameters. And again, I would change this to a hotkey right away. So that you don't have to click up here because it's something you do often. You go and pop open your parameters, edit something real quick, close it, and it just saves clicks. Keyboard shortcuts are way faster. So anyway, parameters are open here. Again, this is like a little spreadsheet where you can add in your own little design definitions to be able to change on the fly and not have to search through your timeline for where that one setting was. So make a new parameter. We're going to call this square. Let's just leave it square. So make that 2 because that's what it is now. So square, 2 inches. And you could make a comment if you wanted to. We're not going to. Add another one. Type circle. We're going to make that 1.25. So we could have done this before we started making, but sometimes it's nice to just start drawing and then go, oh, actually, I want to pop these parameters on here. Push OK. And then make one more. We'll make this one in advance and to say height and make that 28. Okay. So now we're going to replace what we had here with the square. There's really no right order to do this, but I'm just showing you an option so you don't have to think about it ahead of time. So you can start drawing and go, actually, these really should be parameters, and you can do that real quick. So I can pop it open with my shortcut, edit these things real quick. Now, and I've changed my design real quick. We're going to replace this one with circle. All right, finish your sketch. We've updated those. And the next thing, something new, we're going to make a construction plane. So every time you draw on any type of surface, you're working off of a plane. So this is the origin plane. It's technically XY. It's X and Y. That's pretty common to start on one of these origin planes, but we obviously want to work off of that. So you can extrude, you can do those kind of things, but we know we want to work at the top of this piece. We're going to make a table leg. I didn't mention that earlier. So from here, we'll select offset plane, and that essentially just says from a plane offset a certain distance. So select your origin XY plane here that I'm hovering over as your plane to reference. And then in our distance box here, we're going to type height, and that's going to use that parameter. So if you zoom out here, you'll see now that height is set up here. And if you click and drag the edges, you can move it all around, kind of make it the plane you want, the plane size you want. It doesn't really matter. Let's turn off the origin here. So now you see our original sketch down here. We've got one up here. And that's all parameterized. So if we want to change that height to actually be 26, it pops down a little bit. Again, you've kind of figured that out by now, I'm sure. Next step, we want to project one of these sketches up to this plane. So we drew them on here so that they're referenced each other well, but we want one of them to be up here for what we're going to do next, which is a loft command. So the way you do that, which I can never remember where project is, so this is a good time to show you how I search for things often. So you type S in your keyboard, and it pops up design shortcuts, and you can put things here, but you can also just start typing, like, where's project? And that's typically how I find it, because I can't remember where it goes otherwise. Just kind of funny. Click project. And now the first thing it's going to want us to do is select where we want to project to. So we're going to select our new top plane here. You can see now we're drawing up here, but it's saying what geometry do you want to select and move up there? And I want this square outline. So let's select the borders here. And you'll see we have 4 selected. And it'll show you kind of a reference up here of what you've done. Push OK. And now we have 2 sketches. So that's really all I want there. So we'll finish that sketch. It's usually helpful to label these. So we'll say this is the top. You just click and then click again. And we'll say this is the bottom. I think this was one I was just messing around with, so we'll delete that. All right, so top up here, bottom here. And now to make something between them, a 3D shape, we'll use a command called loft, which is pretty common. It's under create, loft. We will move to profiles as our first selection. The profile is like the border of where you want to start from, the kind of outline. So we'll select this circle. It's kind of highlighted now. And we'll select our square up here as the other one. Oop, that didn't work. Try that again. First selection is this circle. I think it selected the point, which is kind of cool. And the second one is the square on top. So now you can see we've immediately got a preview of what that might look like. I'm just going to say OK. We're going to turn off sketches to get a better view of this. So you can see now we've gone from our circle at the bottom here, and it smoothly transitions to a square at the top. This is a pretty simple table leg, if you ask me. And we can control this now with parameters really easily. So pop up in your parameters. We want to change the square size to 3 inches at top. And now that is dynamically updated. I'm going to make it real crazy and make it 1/2 inch at the bottom. Not a very good table leg, but kind of fun to see. Maybe it's more like 1.5 and the top is 2.75 and 12 inches tall. That's a pretty fast way to make changes. And I would recommend always working with parameters like this. You could do a fast and dirty model, but most of the time you're going to want to change something down the road. And this is so easy to set up. It's kind of silly to not use parameters. And you can always pop them in after the fact. But starting from the beginning, I think sketches are such an important part of how you use Fusion that when you've got 50 features here, going back to try to find where did I make the change to the bottom of the leg, I don't remember, is it in this sketch, is it in that sketch? When all you have to do is pop open parameters and say, oh, well, my circle, which is the bottom of the table leg. Comments are a good idea for other people that use your models. And now I know how to change that real fast. Anyway, that's a quick way to make a table leg, for example. So that's a quick preview of how you use lofts. Again, you go up to create loft, or our little shortcut here is S, and type loft, enter. Now we're right into loft. That's pretty much how I use anything I don't know a key command for already. All right, so we have our table leg we've made with our loft command. Next up, let's put a top on this, and we're going to look at the sweep command. So first up, let's make a edit to our bottom sketch by right-clicking and click Edit Sketch on bottom. Let's go to the top, click on the view cube over here. So we're looking down at our leg. Type R for a rectangle. I'm going to make it go like this. It's going to be 60 long, 30 wide. Let's make it have a relationship to the leg. So I'll type D for dimension. Click the edge of the table leg. The edge of the table leg, the edge of the tabletop. Let's make that 2 inches. Same here. So now that's in relationship to the leg. And we're just drawing on the same plane here in the bottom sketch. So from there, click, actually, let's just go with a fillet on the corners here. Fillet, so I love a fillet. Fillet is up here in the sketch bar. That corner's a little big. I'm going to make it 1 inch. Enter. If you click one side and the other, it'll let you keep doing that. So you could type 1 inch. It's giving me a lot of warnings. It's nice. 1 inch. Usually you can do them in succession there, but anyway, you could sync all these to one parameter. I'm just going to leave them like that for now. I am going to make parameters for this table size, so open up parameters, plus top width 30, top length 60. Okay. I'm going to edit my length here. Top length. Enter. Top width. And let's finish this sketch. Okay, so spin around here in our perspective, we can see our table in the orientation we want. It doesn't really matter that it's on the bottom plane. You could draw it up here. I like having the relationship on one plane. Turn on your construction plane for the top. Let's call it leg top. I just noticed I haven't saved yet. That's a pretty good idea. Let's go with WW2. Next up, we are going to draw another sketch. So create sketch. We're going to use this plane here, the kind of end of the table view. Click on the front on the view cube so we get a nice orientation. And we're going to draw up kind of in no man's land up here. I typed L for line. Start drawing somewhere up here. Doesn't really matter. Escape to get out of that. So we have a kind of our top of our table. Type or use center diameter circle, which is C. And over here now you see we have a few options of our circle. So that's the first one. You can do 2-point circle, which obviously lets you select 2 points of a circle. Same thing with 3. And then this is the same idea, these tangents. If you're not familiar with a tangent, you would select 2 sides of something in this 2-tangent circle, or 3 sides of something, and that will essentially bound it or constrain it between those lines. I'm going to use the 2-point circle for now. I'm going to select the end of this line, and then I kind of drag it out straight. I'll get a perfect circle going down. I'm going to make that 1 inch, 0.75 inches. So we get a nice diameter there. We're going to type L for line again. If you're not catching what I'm doing here. I'm drawing the profile of my table. So you can kind of think of it as a section, but we'll use it to go all the way around the table with our sweep command. So let's click another line here. Click, there's going to show a tangent kind of at the bottom here. Click there, or wherever you'd like it to be. I think that's a kind of a nice angle. And I'm going to continue this as a straight line after that. Because you can see up here the little teal hash lines. That means it's parallel to the line above it, which is nice. I'm going to click there. So you notice I didn't dimension anything. It doesn't need to be. You can make it dimensioned. If you wanted this to be 10 inches, you could make that. You could make this angle dimension that you really liked. Or it can just be freestyle, and it doesn't really matter. So now we have kind of a table floating out in space here. If you can see here, here's the outline of our top in the bottom view. We're going to use project. So search with S, type in project. And then our geometry, it's popped up and said, what do you want to project? I want the table down here. I'm going to click that. And so now we can reference that in our drawing of the side here. We want to push OK. L for line, and I want to snap to the center here. See the center, click up, click, and then drag up just anywhere here. Except that. Escape out of the line command, and now we have the center of our table, which is useful in that we can reference it for other things. This is something we haven't done before. So you can actually make this be a construction line, meaning it's similar to like a guide in SketchUp, where it's not referenceable as like a profile, so to extrude or something like that. So it's just good for references and something that you need to use and see but not select in a later command. So select your line, go over here to construction, and that will make it a construction line. You see it's a dashed line now. Another way to do this is if you type X when it's selected on your keyboard. That's how I do it. It automatically makes it a construction line, which is awesome. So we want these lines to connect to the center line here. So our top, we're essentially drawing half of our tabletop. Go to modify and extend, or E. And we hover over here. We're going to get an extension, bam, right to the center. So now we've got half of our tabletop drawn. To get it in the right orientation, though, we will want to do something called a collinear constraint. And if we click this, we will then say, it says select sketch objects or change constraint type, which that's a pretty bad dialogue. I will tell you that the first thing you should do is select the line you want to change first, and then the line you want it to go to match. So select this line and the top of our table leg here. And we've now dropped it down to always match the top of our table, or our leg. So if we would change our parameter for height, it's going to pop that table up and down to that top line to the bottom of the table. That looks pretty good for what we're doing. We do want to close the end of this table here for what we're going to do. So type L, make that a profile. You can see it's enclosed now. So there is our table outline, the table profile. So click Finish, Sketch. Next, we will go up to Create and use the Sweep command. A sweep is, I guess it's better to just show it, but essentially we're going to take this profile and make it run around the tabletop outline from the bottom. It's a really powerful command that you don't have to sit here and model every edge, and it should work pretty well here if things go to plan. So the first thing up when we type sweep or we pull up our command is it's going to ask for the profile, and this is the profile, the thing that you're selecting to move around. You want to select your profile, click anywhere inside the tabletop section we just drew, and then we're also going to want to select this little guy at the end. So we've got that selected. Now select your path. So what's it going to run around? There's any good help tips here? Apparently not. We want to select the path, which is our tabletop at the bottom here, the outline. And we've got a tabletop. As you can see, that is a very large top. It's a little wider than what I wanted it to be. That's fine. We just got to start. you can get into all this stuff. We really don't need to. That's really what we were looking to get at here, is to sweep a section around a path. That's how a sweep works. Push OK. And now we've got this really nice profile that we can change definitions of. So if we open up our parameters, we can change the top width now to 24. And that made our table a little bit smaller, or 24 by 24. And we've pulled that really in tight. Close your parameters. If we want to go back and change some of this, let's go back to our sketch here that it's not named yet, but that's the top sweep section. Double click to edit. The big problem of how I drew this is it's a way outside over here of what I want. So let's make a constraint, or let's draw a dimension from here, the center line, out to, it's going to snap here if it's kind of goofy, but it's not quite the outside edge, but I can show you how to do that. Click there. We've got now width, and we want top width here, but let's make it divided by 2 because we're only drawing half. Ooh, I really messed that up. Undo that. Controller Command Z. We need to make a few constraints. So go to dimension, click here, and you can define that as you want. I'll say it's 175. And then let's see if that works. Now do a dimension. Here. Let's say it's 24 instead this time. I know it's wrong. Undo that. You get to see how you can really fail at this. We need a dimension here first. Let's call this the thickness. So right now we kind of had nothing defining what was the thickness of those lines, so it wasn't constraining it at all. So we want to make that be 1.25, let's say. And now, we've got a line off here. Let's fix that with a tangent. Click tangent, and we want to select this line and the top of this. We're really breaking this up. And then tangent again, should still be selected, this line and this line. It brought it in. So now it shouldn't break anymore. So there's always a little bit of a mess if you don't do things quite right, but you can always fix them if you take enough time. So now let's try and dimension our tabletop. A line in the center, out to this guy. Line in the center to our circle. If we drag it up here, now we have a proper dimension that we can hopefully, there we go. So that's good. Our parameter isn't quite what I want. That's just dividing the bottom there. So if we said top width divided by 2, that would work. It's a little goofy for what I designed here. So let's actually make it a little, so we do top width divided by 2 plus 6 inches. And that actually works pretty well. So if you see that definition, we've used a parameter, we've divided it by 2, and then we added 6 inches to it, which is pretty fun. And that makes 18. So if we finish this sketch, we've now updated that design that runs all the way around with our sweep. And you can really see the power of how the timeline works here. So we made a bottom sketch. We stepped through. We've made our upper plane with offset. We projected our sketch to the top for the top of the leg. We've lofted the leg from bottom to top. We drew a sketch for the top sweep section. And now we've swept around our section based on the parameterized bottom border of the table. So anytime we change this down here on the bottom, if we wanted to make, one of these 3 inches, it breaks. Open up your sweep. If we open up the bottom sketch and we want to change this, we could make this like 0.25 inches instead of 1 and just change one corner. So now you can see it's quite a bit smaller. and our sweep updates. If you can tell, that diameter is way smaller than the other two. It's a little hard to tell with those radii. Anyway, let's undo that. So there's our table. Say we wanted it to be back to our kind of original design. There's our somewhat original design. So that was the sweep command. Let's jump over to a different command that's very similar. It's actually way simpler. So let's hide the top. Oh, we only have one. Hold up here. Right click, edit your sketch, or edit your sweep, sorry. Edit the feature. Here, instead of operation join, we want a new body, and that'll make sure that we create two separate pieces rather than joining it to our leg. So now you see over here we have two, so this is the leg. Let's label that. No lowercase. Top. Let's hide that top. Jump up here to create. We're going to use a revolve. A revolve is always a circular thing, so it goes around an axis. Instead of like sweep, we are following something that's a path. Revolve just takes a section and revolves it. So this is a great way to make a round table. Select our profile is the first thing it's wanting us to do. So those two pieces again. Select your axis. Click there, the sketch line. And right away you see we have a round table or disc of some form. This is a great way to make anything that you need to be round, and you can dynamically edit that with the sketch. You could say you wanted that to only be 270 degrees. You could do a 180. You need a half table or wrapped around a corner. It's a very simple way. It's really the proper way to do this. It's super simple. Let's make that a new body as well. So now we've got a second version. So we'll say circle top of our design. What's cool about this is anytime we want to change any of this, you could actually, that's a good idea. Anytime we want to change any of this stuff, we can just go into our sketch of the top sweep section, change any of these things, smaller profile, thinner table, maybe we want it slightly longer. We finish our sketch, all of that's been updated perfectly. And as you can see here, you can do a pretty nice table here and join these two together. So a quick way to do that, since we really like how this looks, maybe it's exactly what we were looking for. It's kind of a nice accident. Combine, which seems to be up here in the toolbar, but if it's not for you, go to modify, combine, which again, that's a Boolean. I don't know why it's called combine. It's a terrible name. Select the target body, select your tool body, and we don't need to keep either of those because we're going to put them together. We want to make sure it's joined. If you did cut, you could do a sweet little performance of taking out the rest of that there, but we're going to join them together. Actually, intersect might be cool. That's pretty sweet too. That's a nice table on its own. Look at that guy. Don't steal this idea. I'm going to make this. Anyway, if we go back to our edit that, we want to do join. So we've now created one solid table here. Got a little bit of a funkiness right there, but it's pretty nice otherwise. I'm going to keep that for now because that's kind of sweet. So if we want to finish out these legs, let's turn our sketches back on. We want to go down here, and a quick way to do this, a very quick and dirty, non-parametric way would to type M on your keyboard and select a body. And once we make that selection, we're now, that's probably not the right way to select that. Select it from the bottom here. Now we know for sure we're in the right spot. It's coplanar to the bottom of the leg. We want to create a copy. And we're going to drag this over roughly where we want it. This is, again, not a great way to do this if you want a dynamic leg, but just a simple way to move something, not something that's repeatable. It's a real quick way to do it. So push OK. You can also control it with dimensions. So I said that was -18. Looks roughly right to me. Push OK. We've got two legs. We could then again move, select both of those things, again, from a place where you know is reliable. We've selected both of them, create a copy, drag here. It's a little far. Ooh, my mouse is going crazy. Maybe we want that 21 inches. So goofy looking table. I know, but we've got 4 nicely tapered legs and a top. And if I wasn't showing you this, it could have taken all of 5 to 10 minutes. And what's cool about all of this is it's super changeable. So we can make it 24-inch tall. We could make it a dining or a coffee table. We could make it stupidly tall at 45 inches. Let's put it back down to 28. And that's a pretty quick way to make a table. Let me show you a better way to do these legs so that they're...
Several song-filled hours later.
All right, that really stumped me for a bit. I normally would just use some type of offset plane, but since we're starting a little bit off the origin, that didn't work out. I did learn something new, so this is kind of fun. We need to make something to reference here in the center for this mid plane. And for that, we will do an axis perpendicular at face at point, to face at point. So select this face, this point. So that will always reference now accurately. And then we want to construct and do a plane through 2 edges. Edge 1, edge 2. So that's our mid plane there. Now we want to do another one. This one's a little simpler. We want a plane through 3 points. So all we're doing is trying to set up a place where we can mirror this leg. So first point, center here, one back here, one at the top. Push OK. So now you can see we have one going each way.
Look at this.
Ah, it's beautiful.
I like this one. One dog goes one way and the other dog goes the other way.
One is going east and the other one is going west. So what?
Now we can use our mirror command, create mirror. Select first select bodies. Click the object. Click the mirror plane we want. Let's go across the short way first. And we've automatically placed that leg in the proper spot according to our sketch on the left. Right click, repeat mirror, select both of these. Mirror plane is this tall, goofy one. And we've placed them at the back. We turn off our construction planes. We've now got perfectly placed legs, and they're always going to stay in the same spot no matter how we change our parameters. So if we want a 99-inch long top, those legs move right along with it. 24-inch top. We can make a shuffleboard. Goofy looking thing. Let's keep that for now. One quick modification here. If we go to the bottom again, we're going to move these table legs a little bit closer to the side. We could say they're 1.5. And I actually want to reference this other one so that I don't have to change these every time. So this is called, if I have this one selected, I showed this before, click here, and now we're referencing D12. So you'll see that, and that it's labeled FX. So that means anytime I change this one, both of them change. Finish sketch. I broke our sweep. That's pretty great right there. Let's undo that. I think it just needs to be a little wider. Made it 1.5. Still doesn't like the sweep. We'll put it back to 2. Okay, but that's how you change that. I think you're getting the picture. To recap how we did that, we don't have a good way to mirror this leg from the front to the back. So to do that, we had to create an axis. So axis perpendicular to face at point. This is our face. This is our point. So we did that. That's this piece. The next, we needed to make a plane out of that point, because you can reference a plane, you can't reference an axis since it doesn't have a planar, feature to it. So we selected this line and this line with a construct of plane through two edges. And then we made a mirror plane. This one's a little simpler. Construct, if we turn off that other guy, construct a plane through 3 points. So we just selected a front, the back here along this center axis, sketch, and then this top one, and that created that plane. So now we can reference to mirror left to right and front to back. And we have all of our legs. I can't make something like this and not render it, so let's quickly do a little bit of rendering here. So A, to open appearances. Appearances are all your materials. Let's go to solid wood, finished wood. Got a few options here. Figured glossy walnut. How about some pine? Glossy pine. Sounds sexy. Ooh. How about we did koa earlier. I didn't show it, but I rendered it in the last video. Pretty interesting. Let's go 3D walnut figured semi-gloss. So that'll pop those in for all those legs. Yeah, it's kind of boring. How about some 3D ash? What's great about these materials is they kind of understand which way your models are. If you're selecting one of these 3D ones, it automatically is orienting the grain as you would probably do it yourself. So I have some koa legs and some ash top, something really, really hideous. But you can change this by searching for texture map controls, and you could do some kind of crazy stacked layered material. I wouldn't suggest that, but really we're just gonna leave it for there. A lot of times it just comes in nice. So go up here to render, start an in-canvas render, just click here. That wraps this one up. Head over to our blog post at the link below. We've got Fusion downloads available and a quick poll where you can let us know what you want to see in the next episodes of the series. If you're interested in learning more about CNC and CAM, I'm teaching an online course. There's a link to that in the description as well. It'll cover the basics of CNC and CAM, things like how to set up CAM in Fusion and V-Carve, knowing when to use different types of tooling, work holding, and much more. Go check out the course page. I really enjoy making these videos, and I hope they're helpful to you. If you're feeling generous, head over to Patreon at cnc.money and help us out. Thanks for watching. See you next week.